Hello everyone, this is Miss Adolfo and today we are gathered to talk about deconstructing or unpacking the Louisiana Student Standards. You can see on your screen the QR code and the link where you can access and record your attendance to this training. Today's training is inspired by Nelson Mandela's quote when he said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." And so let me bring you to the district's theme for the school year, Nothing is Impossible. Of course, this training is in alignment with the district's 4 C's, clarity, consistency, communication, and coherence. Our meeting norms: be fully present, limit sidebars, use technology appropriately, share what you think benefits the group, disagree with ideas, not people, start and end on time, and of course, have fun. In this presentation, we are expected to read and understand the Louisiana Student Standards, collaborate with teams in deconstructing a standard into knowledge, concepts, context, skills, and products, and engage and learn with team in transforming a student standard into learning targets. Let me give you a brief background of how our state adopted the Common Core Student Standards. The actual driving force behind this adoption was the current need of our schools. There was a need to increase rigor and quality of our education. There was a need to solidify students' progression to higher level thinking, real-world application and conceptual understanding, not just procedural knowledge, and there was a need to provide quality education to Louisiana children. The next few slides is just to give us a background of the following states that adopted the Common Core State Standards, so you can see them in this map. I also would like to show you the following states that never adopted the standards, and those others which adopted the standards initially, but later on they repealed. And so there was a shift. We call this a slight shift. So from CCSS to Louisiana Student Standards. The State Department had reviewed the standards and the committee changed 21% of the existing Common Core Student Standards. So we call the standards now as Louisiana Student Standards. So what they did to the existing Common Core are shown on the slide. Some standards have text added, like in this first example. Some standards have text deleted. Some standards have been replaced with different texts. And some of the standards just remained the same. So now we don't call our standards as Common Core in our state. We call it Louisiana Student Standards. The next part of our session is an activity where you will get to know the personnel in the room. So you can pause this video, we can pause this video so we can do the activity to get to know each other. So what do we really understand when we say unpacking or deconstructing Louisiana Student Standards? On your screen, you are going to see a word map, just giving you words that would mean almost the same as unpacking or deconstructing. We can say unraveling, dissecting, disentangling, extracting, chunking, whatever. Do you have other synonyms that you can think of? There is a reason why teachers should unpack or deconstruct a standard. Standards can come to us as ambitious or complex set of skills, and it is our job to dissect this standard and transform them into mini skills, and from the mini skills that you have transformed, you can make them into mini lessons that you can introduce to the students. The next slide actually will show you where we are in terms of public school ranking in the nation. Now, bear in mind that this is shown to you not to discourage you, and also this is only coming from one institution doing the survey. We might see a different result elsewhere, but so far this is what I presented here because they have a reputation of being factual. So right now, our overall score is actually 33%. Our ranking as a public school is rank 50. That's a statewide, not as district-wide. And of course, our safety ranking is 45. What do we really mean when we say deconstructing or unpacking a standard? Deconstructing a Louisiana student standard is simply to take a broader concept, analyze the language or the verbiage, and dissect the standard into its components and learning targets. Now let's talk about learning targets. There are 4 major categories of learning targets. Let's go through them one at a time. The first one is knowledge target. Here, the student masters the subject matter that you are teaching or masters the content. It is purely factual, and you are utilizing low-level assessment. So if you can recall your DOK, it may just be DOK 1 or DOK 2. For example, you are making the students compare area and perimeter. That's a knowledge target. Or when you are trying to make your students compare fractions and decimals, that's a knowledge target. Or you are trying to have the student answer WH questions. That is a knowledge target, okay? The next category that we will talk about is reasoning target. At this time, you will want your student to apply the content using the knowledge and the understanding that they have. You are going to make your students make use of different thought processes. They have to infer, analyze, compare, classify, evaluate, synthesize, and make use of writing prompts or higher level assessments. So if you compare this with knowledge target, you are taking the students to the next level. The third category of learning target that we will talk about is performance or skills targets. Here, the students develop the task proficiency with emphasis on the process, and this is typically assessed with checklist, rubrics, or performance criteria. The last target that we will talk about is product targets. Here, the student creates tangible products that meet certain standards of quality and present concrete evidence of academic proficiency. Examples to these are term papers, portfolios, exhibits, maybe recitals, and many more. And we do need to understand the different parts of a standard, and it begins with understanding the codes. In math, for example, when you look at a standard, you will see the grade level there as part 1, followed by the domain, followed by the cluster, and then the standard itself. So in this example, we are looking at a math standard, and you can see that this standard is a cluster. You will see that the grade level is 5th grade, and the domain name is Number and Operations in Base 10, abbreviated as NBT, and the header of the cluster is Understand the Place Value System. Under the cluster, you will see 4 smaller standards, and these are the standards that you can unpack, because even though you will focus on number 1, there are some skills embedded in number 1 that you can chunk and you can introduce to your students. To effectively unpack a standard, a teacher must have different resources before her. So you can look at teacher's companion documents, you can look at the coherence map, you can also look at the vertical progressions. At this time, we are going to watch a short video. I am showing this to you following the fair use legal doctrine on YouTube.
So one of the most helpful things for me in working with the Common Core and working in teacher teams here at our school has been learning how to unpack each individual standard. One thing that we do pretty regularly is we meet as teacher teams and we think through, okay, what is kind of the overarching standard here, but then what are the pieces inside of that standard? What are the different things that a student would need to be able to do to be able to meet this standard? And then what I found really helpful is once I take a standard and I think about all of the skills that would be required to meet that standard, that's my mini lessons, you know? I take each of those little pieces, I teach that one a day, we practice that one a day, and by the end of a period of time, you know, we've really covered all of the little pieces that work together to meet that standard.
The first part of our session has just ended. This time, I'm going to invite everyone to take a short break, and those who would like to stay, you can take a look at the teacher resources on the screen. Thank you.